Spotting right here in the top right-hand corner, representing Basilisk, we have Serral.
And his opponent in the bottom left, never to be counted out, representing Dragon Kaizi Gaming. He's a world champion in his own right. It's Dark.
Yeah, both of these players, world champions of StarCraft 2. We can consider Serral the best Zerg outside of South Korea, Dark the very best, well, from South Korea. This should be a banger of a match. And right from the get-go, a little bit of variety. Serral going for the extractor trick into the 15 hatch.
I think this makes a lot of sense in this matchup because Dark is known for 12 pulling his drones across the map and just trying to take you out early. And this keeps Serral completely safe by getting the spawning pool up a solid 10 seconds earlier than normal. It's just going to mean earlier queens, earlier zerglings. This ensures that he can't get taken out. On the other hand, how much has he actually practiced this in Zerg versus Zerg? You know, Dark, 16 hatch, 18 gas, 17 pool, much more standard opening. It's going to give him the normal flow through. And Serral, on the other hand, is going to have to make a little bit more compromise. You can see his gas is delayed right now. He hasn't even started it just yet. He starts it about 20 seconds delayed. Does he try to secure the very quick third, or does he go 4 queens with this? You know, how is Serral going to play it out? He's got a few more decisions to make, but he will have earlier lava injects and a bit more safety.
So historically, these two have faced off against each other 10 times only, which is kind of interesting because both of them have been incredibly good for many years at this point. But I think Dark is one of the very few players who has a 50% win rate against Serral. Serral seems to be, well, favored against basically everybody, and I do think he's the favorite going into this particular series, but history doesn't lie. Both of them have won, well, against the opponent 5 times each.
Yeah, you know, I'm not a stats man, Loco, but I don't know if anyone has better than 50% head-to-head versus Serral. If it is, it's probably a single match they've played against him or something like that.
2017.
Yeah, maybe Rogue at one point had the winning advantage on him, but I don't think he kept that for too long either. Most people have a negative win rate versus Serral, including, you know, World Championship caliber players. But Dark, he is one of the best scrappy players in the world. His ability to micro his way out of trouble, to never give up, is just absolutely mythical at this point. Dark is so good in the messy game, but Serral is so clean in the opening, and you can see him already pulling ahead. He's going for the 4-queen opening on 2 base. Oh, nice drone on the ramp. That stops the Zergling from going past. And so he can't see exactly what's going on. And no doubt, Dark is going to be wondering, hey, is this really you skipping link speed? Why haven't you moved out for a 3rd base yet? Serral got over 100 gas. I expect to see a lair start up very soon. For now, though, he's going to saturate that natural expansion so quickly. Like, if you look at the drones coming out for Serral, he's going to be up on 35 workers at 3 minutes 10. Dark, he's 10 workers behind already. So he's got the earlier third, he's got the link speed, the Baneling Nest. But in terms of raw money coming in, Serral has a massive kickstart.
Yep, Serral not going for the link speed here, skipping the Baneling Nest as well, going straight into the lair with the Roach Warren as well as the Evo Chamber. Now, is this risky? A little bit, but on a map like this, you can relatively easily wall off your natural expansion. And I mean, even if Dark decided to commit to a whole lot of links right now, which he's not, he would still have a very hard time actually breaking this. So this opener right here from Serral has gained popularity over the last few months. A Zerg player called Eric has decided to mix this into his games as well. Serral mentioned, hey, I think it's actually pretty good. And he's been playing it in basically every matchup. It's interesting to see this variety, and I really don't know how much experience Dark has against this, because as far as I am aware, none of the Koreans have been playing this style.
Solar has picked it up a little bit in recent weeks. Solar is the one player that's picked this up in Zerg vs Protoss. I don't know if we've seen much of this in ZVZ in general, even in the European scene, but Serral is showing such a good, deep knowledge of how to use these early queens. I mean, look at this. He's been out on workers the whole time. He's got a very fast +1 range and roach speed, but he doesn't have the 3rd base. Now, you might say that's a big disadvantage. Is it? He's up on workers. He's actually mining more than Dark. As long as he does establish a 3rd soon, he's going to be good.
Getting that Overlord would be absolutely massive, by the way. He's going to try, and Dark, that is, prevent that from happening. Sacrifices a couple of Zerglings for it. At this point, Dark, he doesn't know what he's playing against, right? It could be Nidus Worm, it could be Spire. Turns out it's just straight Roaches with +1 and Roach speed, but Dark has to prepare for a lot. So he made all of these links, and as far as the work account goes, he's still actually behind. So all of this time, despite the fact that Dark is the one with 3 bases and Serral has 2 expansions here, or He has 1 expansions, but 2 base in total. It's actually Serral who's economically ahead.
This could be bad, though. Serral was only faking the 3rd base. He's not taking it, which means he's committing to an attack. And that is not going to go well against what is essentially a Ling Ravager roll in from Dark. Dark's going to have Carapace kick in at the same time as +1. If he can surround with mass Zerglings, drop Corrosive Bile in, this can destroy Serral's push. Serral is committing hard right now across the map, but Dark actually stayed at 40 workers. He's got a giant army, so many Ravagers ready. If he can get a big surround and pull that trap on Serral, Serral's going to be in big trouble. Serral does not realize how big Dark's army is.
Yeah, he's bringing a couple of queens right here to the front as well. I think he's going to return. This is such a high-level move right now. This is basically what he's been building up for the last 5 minutes, right? He wanted to go for this push. He may test the waters with the roaches, maybe, yeah, sneak out a few of his units, but I think he's just going to sit here on the high ground and wait for his opponent to come to him.
Yeah, and he starts a 3rd base. Serral playing so smart right now, and he's overseer scouting. He's like, oh yeah, you haven't even built that many drones. I don't need to attack. If he attacked there, Dark would have sprung the trap, and it would have been a genius move. He would have crushed Serral's army and had a vicious counterattack. Now Dark has to move across the map to him. Serral's got defender's advantage. He's going to be able to set up positionally. But my lord, that's a lot of Zerglings, mate.
Yeah, no, he's got to be very careful. Serral needs to make sure he's making non-stop army over here. He needs as many roaches as he can possibly muster. Already setting up the concave over here. Queens have a lot of energy available as well for transfusions. There go the corrosive biles. The majority of them are Darks. Excellent start to this engagement for Serral.
Great transfuses, those queens. He got them back from Dark side of the map. So many transfuses in the bank. Oh, here come the big surround attempts, but not able to get it. Serral slips away and denies Dark. Dark not able to make this happen, and now he's in big trouble. His lair is not even finished. Dark way down in supply. Serral using this beautiful 2-base Roach opening. He's got Burrow +2 attack on the way as well. And the Roach Ravager pulling back. Lair about to finish for Dark. A Desperation Spire is maybe one of the few ways he could get himself back into this, but with Tunneling Claws on the way as well, Serral cleaning up Overlords with Corrosive Bile, he's looking amazing.
Yeah, maybe a Spire would be a cool idea, but I do feel like Serral is likely going to go for an attack at the very least when that +2 missile of his finishes up. Instead, Dark probably thinking the same thing. He decides to just go for the Roach speed upgrade and sort of play this game ever so slightly from behind.
Army-wise, I mean, the problem is his Roach count is massively behind. And those Lings that he has left over, I guess he can use for backstabs potentially to keep Serral pinned back, but first-person view from both sides, Serral's view on the right, Dark's on the left of your screens. You can see these players kind of frantically jumping around, managing many tasks. Both of their overseers are poking. Roaches are going to come in from the bottom right to harass Dark in the near future. But Serral seeing no base, looks like he's going to back off with those for the moment. Maybe distract with the Roach Ravager. And there we go, Serral's going for a big attack. Hopefully we can get back to the other view in a moment so we can get a good kind of top-down view of that. And the Roach Ravager coming on in. The Ravager's trying to drop Biles across the front. Queens moving in and out. There comes the Lings!
Oh my god, that was so close though. Getting all these Lings in, especially with some Carapace upgrades, can be a disaster. Now, I believe Serral has a bunch of Roaches with Tunneling Claws out on the map. Well, at this point, the spines are available right here on the Roaches, and that's a clear giveaway for Dark that this is indeed finished. But does he know exactly where those units are going to be located? Keep in mind, this is right before the +1 missile finishes up right here for Dark. A couple of the Corrosive Biles do connect, but Serral's defending at home as well. He's winning the fight at the front. This is him just simply building up that advantage from the early game, and I believe that is going to be enough. Although now the Zerglings are moving in.
Drones have been pulled there. The Lings coming in for the surround. This is only part of Serral's army. If he can bring the rest of his Roaches and Ravagers down, he should be able to outnumber the reinforcements coming in from the top left of the screen. More and more rallying across. Dark down 7 workers after this. The Ravagers and Roaches trying to hold on. 1-1 upgrades versus +2. The +2 range advantage for Serral is big in these fights. And you can see the Lings are gone, the drone advantage is gone, and there's still Roaches left on the front for Serral. Even if Serral doesn't finish him off here, he's got so much more coming across the map. He is far ahead.
Yeah, a couple of misrallied Roaches right here. That is essentially what Dark is hoping for, right? Any mistake right now would be massive. I actually thought that at the same time we had a small group of Roaches burrowed on the ground. Maybe they got spotted or something happened to them during the picture-in-picture there as we saw both players go into town. If Serral would have had a few Roaches in the main base there, well, I guess they wouldn't have been part of the main army, but I think he would have been able to deal substantial amounts of damage. Dark, though, manages to hold on. The problem is he hasn't gone for any upgrades in quite a bit, right? He needs to just make as much of an army as he can while trying to sneak out a couple of drones. Serral, ready to go for another push.
I think Dark needs his teammates to go and unplug Serral's computer because that supply disadvantage is massive. I mean, Dark needs some magic. He needs something to happen, the monitor to turn off or something. Serral just has so many numbers. It's taking him a while to reinforce. You can see now by splitting up his attention with the harassment in the back at the same time, it's just so hard for Dark to deal with being far behind from early on. And remember, this all comes back to Serral choosing to back off on that earlier attack. That was a genius decision. So many players would have walked in and had the trap set on them. But Dark is denied. Serral slips away. The moment he saw those Ravagers on the front line, he said, something doesn't smell right. Runs home, gathers up for a later push, and crushes it.
Yeah, he made an overseer immediately, flew it into the third base, saw the worker count. He's like, wait a second. There's like 2 drones over there. I really don't need to be all too concerned. Serral, man, making it look relatively easy here, right? And that's what he usually does. He's very good at playing these clean games and knowing exactly what to do in those scenarios. So this forced push right here from Dark, I mean, it looked pretty decent, and there were definitely moments where that could have gone his way if he, for example, would have had the full wraparound and all of the corrosive biles connected. But Serral bringing out a build that we don't really see that often at this level of play with the 2-hatch opener versus triple hatch. And yeah, in the end, he just ended up with a lot more units.
You know, it's really a surprise tactic. The big mass Ravager Ling, it's about surprising your opponent and catching them off guard. A guy at Serral's level, once he realizes you're going for that, he's so tricky to surround and land those biles on. It's very difficult. And I think this also comes back to the early game efficiency. Serral's efficiency was off the charts. 3 minutes 10 in the game, 2 bases fully mining. That is wild. On the other hand, Dark was still 10 workers plus behind for several minutes in the early game, and that adds up a lot. Obviously, needing to cancel the Baneling Nest, maybe cancel the Zergling speed as well. Dark needs to be more efficient. If he runs into this opening again from Serral, he needs to be a bit greedier to match it.
Problem, of course, is when you cancel the Baneling Nest and the Ling speed, you fall behind against just a Ling flood, which is something that happens quite a bit. Well, maybe not at this level of play, but it's certainly something that Serral could have been doing.
Game 2
here, right?
makes it look the same opening, does the Ling flood. That's actually an Eric special. Eric likes to do that a lot as well. So he actually famously beat Dark with this opening 2 series in a row, weekly EPT Cups back-to-back. That's the guy that invented and popularized this opening Serral's been using. It was Dark that initially fell victim and kind of got everyone's eyeballs on that build order. But of course, always at the front of the meta. Up here in the top left side, representing Basilisk, it's Serral.
And down here in the bottom right-hand corner of Gresben from South Korea, he is Dark. These are frustrating games to play right here for Dark. He probably hoped his opponent would commit to that push. Did he make any substantial mistakes? It's always difficult to point that out, right? When your opponent is playing 2-base, it's just very difficult to figure out exactly what the correct response is, because there are so many follow-ups. It could be a Ling flood, could just be a roach push like we saw, could be Mutalisk, could be Nidus Worms. You could go straight into lurkers if you're feeling really, really ambitious. There are so many different varieties and so many different flavors that Dark tried to basically cover, well, all of the possibilities, and in the end, he just loses to the most basic of the openers that Serral could go for.
2 base mass roach. That's the way to do it. Well, funnily enough, Dark says, okay, well, sitting back kind of sucks. So this time he's actually gone, I still think it was a 16 hatch, but I think he went like 15 gas, 14 pool afterwards. So he's going to be potentially doing a big Ling flood off of this, whereas Serral's gone for a more standard 16 hatch opening. So definitely the aggressive momentum could be coming out of Dark to follow it up saying, well, sitting back, not a big fan of it. Let's get in my opponent's face. And I'd love to see Dark skip Baneling Nest and just go like Ling flood, or at least Ling pressure, and go straight into Roaches himself behind.
Okay, we'll find out here in just a moment. He is leaving the drones in gas, so we'll have to see. Well, maybe he's pulling them out right now. No, he's leaving at least 2 of them into the gas, guys. Okay, nothing all too crazy there. This could also just be him assuming that maybe Serral is the one who's going to get a little bit cheeky in game number 2. Maybe historically, that's not really something Serral has done, but you mentioned already he's been switching up his playstyle quite a bit over the last half year or so, where it wouldn't be too surprising to see Serral go for some sort of all-in here. None of that is happening, though. He's going to be going for the 3rd base. This is considered to be what we, well, call the normal opener.
That third hatchery is probably not going to be surviving this game, but the thing is you don't need that to survive. Dark's only on 19 workers. He's taking a third hatchery just for show. He's trying to make it look like a normal build. He's like, oh, look, you're taking a third? So am I. Yeah, we're totally playing a normal game, Serral. Little does Serral know, the link speed's 20 seconds faster. Dark's already massing Zerglings. Serral is 5 workers ahead, about to be 7 workers ahead. He started his own Baneling Nest, but he needs to respond very quickly and realize how committed this is.
It is a Baneling Nest and a Roach Warren. That Roach Warren timing here is not the norm. Serral actually going for what seems to be an all-in himself.
But it's going to hit much later.
It's going to hit much later, yeah. But he's totally fine losing the third base.
Yeah.
Plus, he's already making lings right now.
That counterattack would be brutal. If he doesn't lose anything other than the third hatchery, you're absolutely right, Loco. He sees it now, Lings flooding across the map. He only got a glimpse of the vision. Baneling Nest isn't ready. Serral needs to get to his ramp right now. If his queens don't get on his ramp, oh, actually he's going to wall off the front. Oh, no!
The queen apparently decided to just be one step in the wrong location. That means that the front door is wide open. Serral falling back right here to the natural ramp. Honestly, very impressive crisis management, but will it be enough? Banelings are coming up here. They're actually morphing in on the ramp. Only a couple of drones have gone down so far. Keep in mind, he was ahead in the work account before this engagement started, and now there are Banelings available.
Nice split by Dark.
GG.
Gets the Baneling down. And you can see the response on Serral's face there that I cannot believe that queen was not blocking that wall off. That looked like a clutch wall off response from Serral, but Dark gets in there with the Ling Flood, doing the sort of build we actually thought Serral might throw in himself. Dark takes one back the way he is known to. He loves that Ling Flood. He's been mixing it in a bit, and a bit of a wry smile there from Serral.
Yeah, that's a frustrating one. That queen was just literally one tippy toe away from being in the perfect spot. Obviously, these players are playing incredibly fast, so it's not like he's looking at the queen. It's like, okay, you get in position right there. You go sit right over there. No, you queue it up, you shift queue the hold position command, and well, apparently it was just one little hex away.
And once it's out of position, if you try to shuffle it forwards, when it's moving and not on hold position, the Lings will all squeeze past it. So you can't reposition it once the Lings are there. It's like, no, it's too late at that point. I do love the way he pulled the drones and did this backup hold on the ramp.
Yeah.
If he made a few more Banelings behind here, I do think Serral could have hung in. He's still up 4 workers. He didn't need to go back to mining here. So I wouldn't have minded him staying on the ramp, morphing more Banelings, and just stalling it out. But with both queens taken down, it's not a good position either way.
Also Roach Warren too, right, in the main base. So imagine if that queen would have actually been in the right spot. She probably would have bought like 10, maybe 15, nah, that's maybe a bit long. But she would have bought a little bit of time. And that's all that really Serral needed, right? If he had like one round of additional units popping out, that fight would have looked completely different.
Easy 10 seconds, right? That was a really good choke point. There was only like a tiny corner. There'd be like 1 or 2 Lings attacking the queen at a time. Dark would have to focus down the Evos, the queen, or probably just go for the third hatchery and drone up. But
yeah, but if he takes the third hatch, then Serral is going to go in for a counterattack that he would never expect because that Roach Warren is hitting in the back. So,
he would be massively ahead.
Yeah,
right?
Serral seemed very frustrated there, talking to himself a little bit. I hope he's not talking himself, well, too aggressively, right? Because I think that was a relatively small mistake. Either way, game number 3 in this best of 3 series. We find ourselves in Ancient Cistern, and in the top right-hand corner, it's Serral. He's a little frustrated.
That's what he channels, though. That's his strong point. This man down here gets one back with some aggression. Now going into Ancient Cistern. In the bottom left, representing Dragon Kaisi Gaming, it's Dark. You know, Loco, I've watched enough of Serral's stream over the last few months to know his thought process. As he shakes his head and looks a bit frustrated, it's, I'm so bad, I can't believe I did this, I'm so bad. And then he goes on to beat the best players in the world 10 games in a row. Yep. That's basically the Twitch TV experience on Serral's stream. He is always just basically not brooking any mistakes from himself. He's like, this is unacceptable. If you make any mistakes, he will be very frustrated with himself. But I mean, he's been channeling that sort of, that lack.
He goes full Super Saiyan here, right?
Yeah, he just gets angry, but it's a focused anger. It's like he fuels it into his perfection engine, and he just gets closer and closer to playing the perfect game as time goes on. Dark, of course, a player who's going to flow with the game no matter what's happening. I don't think we've ever seen Dark thrown off his game, even in the most bizarre situations. This man lives for the chaos.
For sure. Yeah, that previous game, he got maybe a little bit lucky, but he doesn't view it that way. He'll be thinking of that game as like, yep, that was all planned. I knew exactly what was going on. In the meantime, apparently another result coming in. Classic versus Calazur went 2-1 in favor of Classic. Always good to see the Protoss player doing well here.
Nice turnaround. Kelazar looked pretty dominant in that game 1 as well, so good to see Classic stabilizing. He's kind of the forefront of macro Protoss players right now, so good to see him having some success, getting back to his former glory. But of course, here in the Zerg vs. Zerg, it looks pretty straightforward so far. Serral does have Ling speed up a few seconds earlier. And we're just going to have to check how many workers are left on gas for both sides. It looks pretty standard, though.
A 28 Overlord right there for Dark. Not entirely sure exactly what's going on there. He's going to start stacking up a bunch of larvae.
Well, he's doing the Clash opening in ZVZ, mate.
Yeah, maybe that's what he's doing. He's going to need a third base here, though.
Yeah, Dark's openings are always a little bit interesting in comparison, but Serral, his third hatchery is slightly faster.
Yep.
More drones coming out. And that is the scary thing. I think a lot of players, if they realize how far behind they tend to fall against Serral, they freak out. I don't think Dark cares. I've seen Dark dismantle so many players over the last few months with, being a little behind at the 4 or 5 minute mark, and then he just goes across the map and takes them out. He's got killer instinct. He's got that decisiveness. And my Lord, Loco, he didn't get to show it in the last game. That Roach Horn never got scouted. I don't think Dark realized that build was even being played. So Serral says, well, I haven't used up the secret.
He didn't actually see it. Yeah, that's a very good point. He did not see the Roach Warren in game number 2. So it's not like this particular surprise right here has been spoiled. Dark essentially saw a normal macro game in the previous match. Maybe a few additional links, but that's nothing uncommon in the ZVZ matchup. That Roach Warren in the main base was unscouted. So this is maybe something that, well, Serral can still spring over here. Roach Warren's going to finish up right now. How many roaches do we produce? I guess just as many as we can.
Yeah. This is a very committed push for Serral right now. Starts up 2 roaches, 5 roaches. It will be a few more. And this is the Serral special as well, just keeping a pack of Lingbane defensively so you cannot get into scout, and he's completely safe. Dark's taking the bait. He's droning. He's going well up towards 40 drones. Serral's scouting to make it look like a normal game. He says, oh, yeah, I really need scouting information. Look, Serral doesn't care what he sees here.
Great.
Yeah, he's just purely doing this for show. And look at that. Dark's building an Evo chamber. But Dark is making a lot more Zerglings right now. But with Banelings and Roaches, that's a big issue. There's going to be 7 Roaches. Lots of Banelings will be morphing on the front for Serral in the near future. Oh, Dark does immediately drop a Spine Crawler. Another one goes down, canceling his Evo Chamber. If he can get those up, he should be able to hang on his natural. But Serral may be happy taking the 3rd base out. Banelings, Queens pulling. Dark with a good response so far.
Yeah, I really like this. Canceling the Evo Chamber there is actually key. I don't think you really can get a whole lot of value out of that anytime soon. Baneling run by in the meantime, failing right there on the side of Serral. The Spines, though, aren't done yet. Obviously, Banelings aren't the preferred unit right here against against Roaches, rather, but when they're clumped up, they can be quite good.
Oh, the Banelings of Serral making it hard for Dark to go in. He's having to use Banelings on Roaches right now, but it looks like he might just have enough to hold on. Holds that ramp. Serral has to rotate. Serral is not done yet. He's still looking for that 3rd base, but the Spine Crawlers are migrating over. Dark may need to backstab. The Banelings are still reinforcing. Serral's adding drones behind this, so he does have a transition, but he's behind right now. Serral needs more damage.
Yeah, excellent movement right here by Dark. I love the fact that he actually moved that Spine Crawler over here as well. They're dancing, right? The Banelings.
Oh, there's no Banelings left. There's no Banelings left. This is Dark's opportunity. Dark dives in. He's going to take out these units. The Roaches started stepping back. Serral takes out the Baneling. That allows his Zerglings to come in and fight. Nice micro by Serral. Very, very good micro. That was a fantastic engagement by Serral.
Yeah, is Dark going to go for a counterattack right now? I mean, he's finishing up his Roach Warren. He doesn't have a Lair. He doesn't have an Evo Chamber. He doesn't have that many units either. And in the end, Serral does have a couple more workers here. So even though this attack was not as successful as he probably was hoping for, he would have liked to win the game by now, he actually doesn't find himself in a terrible position here at all.
This is what I'm talking about. This is what we've seen from Serral in the last few months. It's his ability to do an attack, the opponent to respond correctly, but he micros his way through the situation. He kind of finds just the right balance of aggression without throwing his army away for free and works his way back into a good position. And somehow he's up 6 workers behind that. Dark has missed so many injects because he pulled every queen to the front. He can't spend his money, so he's got to build a 4th base just to try and get some more lava production. It speaks to the chaos going on Dark's side of the map. His build is looking really sloppy because every queen had to pull to the front for the emergency hold.
+1 missile fired up right now as well for the Korean Zerg. Serral going into the lair. Not actually using his evolution chamber just yet, but he's coming up on 100 gas right now. I think we'll see him fire up one of those upgrades as well momentarily. But so far, he's actually just committing to more roaches.
I think he's a bit worried about the unit count out of Dark, so he feels like he needs roaches for safety. It is delaying his upgrades a lot, giving Dark a big upgrade advantage. Seeing the 4th hatchery, Serral's kind of confused, like, wait, why is there a 4th hatchery right now? What is going on? But he sees the Roach Horn, he sees the lair isn't done, and that's going to make him think, okay, cool. So you're just building that because you kind of had a bit of minerals stacking up. And he's actually going to go for another Roach Baneling pressure.
Yeah, there's no Roach speed finishing up here anytime soon for Dark, so he can actually move across the map at least a little bit, assuming these Link counterattacks, though, are not going to hit on his side of the map. There should be a couple of units still available for Serral at home as well. Either way, he's going to try and see if he can get some damage done over here at the 4th base.
This forces Roaches.
Yeah.
It's such a good move because you're forcing Roaches. Look at his worker advantage.
Spire. Serral actually not going for the +1, going Spire.
I love this move. He has +1 in Roach speed now. But he's going to do both, right?
Afterward?
Yeah. So he's like, okay, he's going to get like 6, 7 mutas out, clear the map, get control, get damage, and then he's going to follow up with Mass Roach. But he's up 16 workers. Serral is in such a good economic position. And I feel like this is really the final just cherry on top of the cake of Serral's skill set. The ability to put on pressure, fake out his opponent, pull back, put on another wave, pull back, tech switch sideways into Mutalisks while taking a 4th base.
Playing an actual strategy game.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
He used to be really good at just outplaying his opponent, doing the standard thing.
No, I agree.
Now he does that, and he does clever strategies, and he also backs out of aggression even when you think he's overly committed. Serral has really become the complete package. I already thought he was pretty much that, but it feels like, you know, he's added that last couple of percent to become nigh unstoppable.
All right, Mutas are going to be joining the battlefield here very soon. Dark, however, is finishing up his upgrades here too. There is a moment where Dark could go for an attack right before Mutas are out. I'm with you though. I don't think he's actually going to commit to that many Mutas. Just a small group to grab that map control, clean up a bunch of Overlords. 7 Mutas coming up right now. He's not going to fire up anything else. Dark has actually got vision of it. Immediately starts up the Hydra then too. Historically speaking, if we look at the win-loss ratio in these type of games, it's pretty much always the guy going Mutas who comes out ahead.
Usually it is, but this is very delayed Mutas, so there is an argument for Hydras when you're on 4 base not being that bad. I would say the problem is the economy. Dark's building a few spores, a few queens, definitely needs to get his work count a little bit higher, and oh my lord, that is Baneling speed loco. We are going to see the classic Roach Baneling force a lot of Hydras with Mutalisks, and then roll Banelings in that crazy supply-efficient unit. I love it. This used to be so popular in the Chinese scene, back in Heart of the Swarm. It's been a while, but I love it.
Lurker then coming up right now for Dark, though. Sooner than we would normally expect it with this sort of follow-up. Overseer is going to go down as well. Loads of Overlords will also fall here, and that's the real key to this strategy, right? This is going to put Dark, well, in the dark, pun not intended this time around, but you won't really see this particular attack from Serral coming. However, if he gets Lurkers out in time, I mean, you can make as many speed mailings as you want to, but as long as there's Lurkers available,
man,
gotta get shut down hard.
Like 2 Lurkers lined up in front of 20 Banelings, those Banelings ain't connecting with anything. Lurkers are a hard counter to the Banelings and the Roaches, even though they're only lair tech Lurkers. I like Dark's choice to try this out. Serral's gonna commit though, diving on the 3rd and the 4th. Oh my lord, he gets the 3rd base. Oh, the transfuses for Dark, almost keep it alive, but not quite. Great harassment by Serral in the top left. The Roaches clean up the Zerglings. Looks like the Mutalisks did get thrown away in the midst of that. Maybe a little wasteful for Serral, but these trades are amazing.
I think he's actually reading this properly, Serral, that is. He decided to, I think, let go of the Bane speed and go for an Infestation Pin instead. This fight over here, though, is being pushed back by Dark, getting some pretty good trades as well. Corrosive Balls are going to eventually force those Roaches to back up. Well, the Roaches here on the left side of the map will also be pushed back. But this does mean that Serral will not be having any Lurkers of his own here anytime soon. And the fact that he's stacking up towards Hive is going to give Dark enough time to get his own Lurkers going. So I guess the assumption here that we can make is to go for some Vipers, right? But when you're playing Viper Roach against someone who's going, well, Hydra Roach Lurker, I think I do still favor the Lurker player. It all comes down to the economy, right?
Yeah, it really comes down to the engagements. Obviously, Roach Viper is more of an in-between style. We do want to see that tech as well. Serral wants to keep trading for now. He does have more Ravages in the back, so the Corrosive Biles allow him to break the Concave, but the Lurkers mean he cannot push in for the win. Hydra Den does need to go down for Serral. We want to see. Yeah, there we go. Finally, does go for it. He looks to snipe the Tumor, but misses it, unfortunately. Doesn't have an Overseer with his Force. Does need to get those on the front line to clear up Dark's vision. Dark turtling on 4 base. He is a king of surviving.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that Katowice where Dark said, I'm going to counter all the Zergs by playing the most boring late game of all time. And I know they're all going to get impatient and just lose because I'm the king of late game. And everyone's like, seriously? I think he's trolling. No, he played hour-long games, and his opponents could not keep up with him. Dark is very good at that stage of the game, but he is behind on the Hive, and he is in such a defensive position. One big mistake where he gets caught out, Serral could definitely just take the game away from him.
Yeah, this game can certainly still end within the next couple of minutes, but it seems to me that we're leading towards a late game. Now, late game Zerg versus Zerg is actually amazing, even though we barely ever see it because, well, it's a very explosive matchup. Quite literally, it's very easy to accidentally lose. Because of that, usually the late game, it doesn't get played that much, but usually the ultimate unit composition we're looking for are Hydra, Lurkers, and Vipers. That's the unit composition that counters everything. We're not quite there yet, okay? Well, at the very least, the gas geyser there is going to be restarted, but it seems like we're headed that direction.
Absolutely. Lurker is finishing up for Serral in a moment. He's already got Vipers on the field, and I think he's gone to, is it 4 Vipers in total, or is it just the 2? Because Blinding Cloud is a big game changer. Yeah. And Abduct as well. It pulls Lurkers out of the ground. Not to mention, if both sides get Vipers, you start abducting their Vipers into your Hydras, and it becomes a very weird match of just who can snipe down each other's gas-expensive units as quickly as possible. So Roach Ravager is your very cheap, expendable, meaty frontline, but if they stand in front of packed Lurkers, they go down so quickly. Lurkers, of course, very good technical burrowed siege unit. They do lots of splash damage, and the Vipers are there as the enabler, because the Blinding Cloud basically just shuts down anything from shooting. It just basically says, you've got melee range only on those units, in those green circles. The Abduct's pulling units into your army to pick them off a big. And you can see Serral here on 5 bases, trying to keep Dark pinned back on 4 bases, being very successful so far.
Upgrades starting up right now on both sides of the map. We've got the late game Lurker upgrades here. There's still a lot of Roach Ravager available, but as soon as those units go down with these little skirmishes, they will be replaced with higher tech units here instead. This is going to be pretty wild. One thing to keep in mind is that the Lurkers are also cloaked units, so you do need detection. And that's one problem you can actually run into too with all of those Vipers. When you can start abducting your opponent's detection in those Overseers, it's actually very difficult to get a good trade in. Now that's a good start right there for Serral, harpooning whatever he can, but those Lurkers, they're the most expensive unit by far.
Gotta be careful with those Spore Crawlers zoning out. One Viper goes down, Blinding Clouds come in, nice Abducts, but there's more Lurkers behind that. Serral can't overcommit here. Roaches on the south are trying to find an opening, and they do, taking out a few Roaches and Queens. Dark microing as well as he can in that picture-in-picture. There we go, Serral and Dark ever so focused right now. Dark's got map control. He's going to add melee upgrades behind this, more Vipers and Lurkers. The melee upgrades for Ling Run buyers, they are one of the best things to quickly tear down your opponent's production in the late game, get in their backline. Dark going for the big Hail Mary. This is Dark's specialty. Turtle, turtle, turtle. And look, while he's distracting him with Roaches, Serral might not realize. Okay, I think Serral's seen it. Is Serral able to stop that Nidus Worm? Queens will not stop that Nidus Worm on their own.
There's nothing in the worm, it looks like, at least for the time being. Now a couple of units are popping out, though. Lurkers are so difficult to kill when they're inside of your main base. Luckily, there is detection. There should be some Viper energy available, too.
This could
Serral is pushing it back on both fronts.
With the Vipers, this is actually really bad for Dark. If there's enough Blinding Clouds and Overseers, that'd be good. But Serral went in a bit too early. He's also counterattacking with Roaches at the same time. The Lurkers in the main aren't getting anything done. Dark, he's trying to pull his Lurkers home. And Serral gets a base snipe, doesn't really lose any production, catches a few more Lurkers in the main base. Fantastic fights for Serral.
Yeah, Serral a little bit faster, a little bit cleaner overall so far in this series, we can say. And it shows right now in the later stages of this game, too. Hydra's coming up. Serral actually just adding on more drones here. Or actually, no, that's Dark adding on more drones here. Yeah, he lost a bunch in the process. Needs to be very careful. Still some Roaches and Ravagers do remain, however. Serral's still trying to trade those out with as much efficiency as possible.
Serral's movement is just so good. If you sit there and let Dark establish his lines of Lurkers and Spores and get his own Vipers up, I really do think he might actually outmatch Serral. Serral's not giving him that chance. He says, I'm still here with momentum. Check it out. I've got 2 Mutalisks left over. We're going to keep denying your bases. You've got no creep spread. And look at the minimap. Dark's trapped in this corner with no vision. Serral can rotate to a new angle, run in, nab a few units, just yoink him into his army, pick him off, and then run away. Dark doesn't have a chance to put any counter pressure on him. So Serral, really this is his game to lose right now.
Look at the banks as well. Dark, 180 supply. Serral maxed out for a long time with nearly 5,000 resources in the bank. That is going to add up over time as well. That said, though, Dark can certainly still max out, and we're one good engagement for him away from this being a disaster for Serral. He can't actually very easily reinforce this. This is what we're talking about. Blinding clouds on top of all of those Hydras, too, to try and prevent them from sniping all those lurkers. Dark, actually, though, still under pressure right now.
He only had 2 Spore Crawlers there. They got instantly blinding clouded. That was so quick by Serral, whereas there was way too many Hydras, and even if you blinding cloud them, they still on hold position can focus those Vipers down as long as they're right on top of them. That's exactly what Serral's doing, picking off 2 Lurkers there as well. He's got more energy where that came from. The Viper Lurker Hydra attacks are unstoppable. Serral using those Vipers for value, and Dark, he does not have the unit number to deal with it. He doesn't have the Vipers. He's got to do a very basic counterattack, just throwing meat across the map. Serral quick to pull back, though. He's going to flank it.
Yeah, those spine crawlers there are actually awesome. Maybe a blinding cloud on the ramp right now would be huge, but all of those lurkers are still in an amazing position.
No energy for Serral right now. This is actually a kind of sick position for Dark, but the flank of roaches from the south. Oh my lord. The angle for Serral, too good. Lurkers coming in on the north as well, and that is held. Serral with a fantastic defense. 38 Hydras are there to remax.
This was very dangerous, though, here. Dark trying to do what he usually wins with, right? He's now also using a Nidus Worm to try and bring his reinforcements here a little bit quicker. Serral needs to wait until his reinforcements arrive. He has spent his bank. He doesn't have a lot of minerals anymore, but here they are, and he can obviously make some additional lurkers right now as well. That was one Hail Mary play right there from Dark, who's still stuck on just 4 base. He really needs more economy, but I don't think he's going to get it.
Hydra's Lurkers trying to rally forwards. Dark will break the front line of spines, but I think Serral with the Viper advantage is going to be more efficient in the long run.
Yeah, this is still kind of dangerous, though. Problem is, those Vipers get so much value. Yeah, you try to get out of there, it's not going to happen, buddy. 3 of those lurkers will get abducted. Honestly, the static defense here is amazing for Serral.
These spines are really helping out.
So strong.
Yeah, we always make fun of static defense, but I think Serral's really smart. He realizes Dark's a scrappy backstab player. Dude, this is a very, very tough counterattack to handle, but Serral's so methodical. He just keeps moving the lurkers forward little by little. He does lose a bunch of drones, but he keeps the hatchery alive. The Vipers are hot on the tail.
Those units are trapped. I think those Hydras are going to have a very hard time getting out of there, and it's honestly pretty much the entire army that Dark has right now. He's trying to slither his way out of there, quite literally. Does find an angle, lurker over here to natural, being annoying as well. Mostly just, again, creating chaos. It's enough, though, for Serral as he obtains the victory to 2